So you guys can see my screen, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So see, if you take any applications, right? See, basically we will have the data layer. So here, so we will do a modeling of the tables, all those things. It can be a SQL database, MySQL database, MongoDB, and other DB like Coach DB and many other PostgreSQL. So these are all the traditional tables most of the industry uses to store the data. So in your
Okay.
case, you are using the MySQL, right? So to create a database, tables, and all the columns across the MySQL, so we have the option called data modeling. So in the data modeling, you can see there is a MySQL section. So where you can create a database, you can generate the UI from the database, you can create a table, or you can do an altering of a table. So to do that, first step is we need to create a connection string to your MySQL database. So that you can do it in the configuration. So there is a secret section. So here you need to create a new secret. So you have to pick the MySQL secret type MySQL, and you can give any name for your secret, and the value will be the connection string. So if I open my SQL one, so let me show you how it looks. So I have
Can you
created
go
a,
one step back, please? Because I have to understand this. Okay. Okay.
yeah.
So what any name means what? You can just give it a name for the database, correct? Like
Yeah, no,
for
not a database. It's just a your SQL server name. So let's say I can give my name like my expense database.
okay.
You can give any meaningful name which you will be using across the API data modeling. So just a meaningful name for your database and a connection string to your database. So value will be the connection string. Here the connection string for your database you need to give. So usually the connection string format will be like this. So I will just show my connection string. So this is how the connection string of MySQL. So we'll have a since I have connected my localhost, I have used the server localhost port, database name, UID, password, and SSL. So this is the connection string to your database you need to create. So this is the first step.
Okay. All right. So once you've done that, then you got
So
to check.
once you create, yeah, once you create this right secret, so that will be available across all other screens where you can use it for any of the data read and write.
Okay.
So under data modeling, so I will go to the MySQL. So it will automatically list here my expense database. So you can select the secret and all the tables in that connection string will automatically displayed. So let's say I have created my expense, right? I will just take this itself and copy paste for this. So this is my connection string. So then I will go to the data modeling MySQL, and you can select my expense. You can see there is a tables already listed because both the connections are same. So here you can create a new database. So this database already has a tables. If you don't have, you can create a new one also. Let's say testing database. So you can create a new database.
So this will add to
So if you
the
want to,
this will add another database on the in the
yeah, it will
existing.
add the new database to the SQL server. So let
Yeah.
me show you my SQL workbench. So you don't need this MySQL workbench, but I will show you how it will work. So I have
Okay.
just hosted. So
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
see testing database. So another database I have created. So there is no table. So I want to just go to my
Hello.
So I want to just go to my
Hello. Can you hear me?
Your voice is breaking,
my
Vipul.
Yeah. No, I
so
can't
that
hear you.
all the
Okay. Okay. Go ahead.
so now
Now it's better. Now I can hear you.
yeah. So yeah, yeah. So in the MySQL database, you can see I have pointed to database Next demo. So now I will point to testing database so that all the tables and all I can create under that database. I
A
just
question right
change my
now.
connection.
A question here. I see that you're connected to a local host, right? So that's a
Yeah.
local host. So this table then can also connect to a local host if you have a local host environment, correct?
Yes.
Just want to confirm. So you
No,
can do.
but the platform is hosted on server, right? Server can't connect to local host because this is I'm demoing from my local instance. That's why local database it is
Okay.
connecting.
Okay. Okay.
But in real time, we have to connect to any of the cloud databases so that it can access from anywhere. Because
Okay. Okay.
our application is hosted on Azure. Azure can't access a local instance. So we have to connect to the cloud instance of any test database or other things.
Okay, okay. So if I were to host this thing, then I would have to have a public domain to host the database, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Usually, most of the cloud like Azure or Amazon, Google Cloud provides a 30 days free one. So we can create a test database and try out, at least for the learning, rather
Yeah,
than creating the paid database.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So
So
once
now
you,
I come to the MySQL. I pick my expense database. So here, so you can create a tables. So whatever the tables you want, you can create. So and here you can see which is the connection you want to create, and you can give the table name. And these are all the default columns we have provided. Like most of the databases, right? We need audit columns like created by, created on, updated by, updated on, deleted by, deleted on. So these are
yeah,
all the default columns needed, right? If you don't want, you can uncheck it, but this as a default we are providing. So now you can create a table name called test my table or whatever. So, and you can give a name, emp name, or a, I'm just going with random. So you can
okay.
pick
Yeah,
whatever
yeah,
you want, and the size you can give, and a salary. So if it is a integer or a float, you can take, and you can create ad. So you can see the testing test my data table. So this is the new data table I have created. If I refresh this, you can see it is already created. Can you
okay.
see with our columns? And all the adding, editing, deleting, everything you can do. So here there is a view edit, and if you don't want this column, you can delete it, or if you want a new column, you can add it. If you want to add a foreign key relationship, you can add it. So all the database related you can model. So because any application we take up, right? So basically we do a data modeling. So this step we call it as a data modeling in
Yeah, I
SQL or
understand.
MySQL.
Yeah.
We create a tables, we establish the relationship, all the columns with the proper data type we created. So that way the data store is ready. So next step is we will build on the API, and then we will build on the UI.
Okay,
So
I have a couple of questions
yeah,
before we go there. If you want to import a table from somewhere else, how will you do that? Supposing,
imported tables, sir.
yeah, table. Supposing I have a table or I have a database
Hmm?
or I want to import it from somewhere, right? Because
Yeah, import
sometimes,
functionalities we have not supported, but we, if you want, we will add it. But currently, since we are giving as option to connect to any external database, you can directly connect. But in your scenario, if you, let's say, want to import it, we can provide you that option, not a problem. So
okay,
to, let's say you have a source database, you want to import to your another, so you will give an option to pick the database and do an import. So that we can provide that functionality.
okay. So that's one thing that I was thinking of. So right now, currently, if I were to link this to an existing database with tables, it will manifest here. Is that correct?
Yeah. So
Okay. So
in the configuration, you can directly create. If you have already a existing database, you go and create a new secret that will be instantly available, and you can connect to that.
okay. What about Excel and all these imports? You can do Excel or you can't?
So Excel import in the sense.
So I create something like a table in Excel, right?
Hmm.
Can I bring it in here or I can't bring it in?
So you mean to say MS Access?
Yes, MS Access type of scenario. Can we do that here or no?
We have not supported, but if you really need it, we will support, because you know, right, MS SQL and all, sorry, Access and all, nowhere industry uses. Those are all the standalone databases. So now
Yes,
the
yes,
trend is SQL or MySQL or MongoDB. So because they
yes.
know SQL database, these are the industry standard database. So most of the companies use us, so we support it. But in your sphere, let's say you really need a MS Access, we will provide an option to that, where you can upload a MS Access with all the tables and all created, that will be stored in the storage, and then you can do a read and write to that MS Access. So that type of functionality we can provide.
Yeah, no, no. I'm just asking some questions which, see, I think what I can do, I'm looking at what I can do. My programmers also will look at it because I can do data modeling on MS Access and then just move it, right?
Yeah.
That's the reason why I'm talking about MS Access. When I know that I can do this quickly in MS Access and I can copy things from MS Access, bring it into MySQL,
Now
then
we will do an import kind of functionality. We will
yeah,
provide like import MS SQL database, where if you import it, that will create a MySQL database or SQL database as per your screens, whatever you select. That type
Okay.
of automation we can provide. Like you
Yeah.
create a columns, everything in Access, and then upload it. It will create a table, same structure in MS SQL and SQL.
Yes. No, I don't see necessarily. There may be some little differences here and there, but at least the business idea gets across. So then I can understand the logic, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So any questions, Shivam, or any questions, Sandeep?
No, from my end. Kushal, do you have any questions?
No, sir.
Hmm. Okay.
I did this.
So basically, now we finish up adding a database, right? So we know that we can create tables. We know we can create uh, this thing, and this is done in the data modeling. Am I correct?
Yeah.
So the first step would be to configure it and then do it in the data modeling, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So configure the database with a key, with a secret key, and then go into the data modeling to do whatever you need to do. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So the next step is
So next step is we need to build the API. So like if you take any application, right, like I was telling, right, so we'll have a three layers. So now just now what I demonstrated is the data layer, and then there will be a API layer. So this is where all the business logic, connective and database, everything logic will be created. And first layer, of course, is a front end layer.
okay.
This will be a web application or a mobile application. So in our scenario, we have a web application. So let me demonstrate how we can perform a read and write to the SQL. So you can see there is a API layer. So where you can give a name for your API. So testing database API. So you can give any name. So just a sample I am giving. So once you create, right, so there this is the default template we create. So basically this has a three sections. So one is a endpoint. So these are all the API names. Like if you take any APIs whatever you have developed, let's say in ERP scenario itself, so there will be a invoice create, invoice delete, there will be invoice get all invoice. So these are all the APIs usually you will develop, right, for any of the ERP system. So similar way, you can create such endpoints through our platform. So this is the endpoint. We call it as a API name. So here you can see there are multiple endpoints you can create. So and there is a pipeline. See, pipelines are nothing but the business logic. What your API is doing. So let's say create invoice. So create invoice. I want to store a invoice details into MySQL, and also I want to raise a invoice into the QuickBooks. Let's say you're integrating with QuickBooks. So those business logic you can build under the pipeline, and you can map the pipeline to an endpoint. So that's two-step process we have. So let me
Wait,
demonstrate
wait,
one.
wait, wait. Just go a little bit slower so that we understand this. Okay. So here is like an API. So the
Yeah.
first step is basically API, where you
Yes.
can give a name. Then basically you will the business logic will follow through. Like
Yes.
in your case, what you did was ERP. ERP means get invoice, create invoice, delete invoice, maybe change to quick points. So each one will need a separate API, or it will be under this API.
No, no, API will be one. That is the big one. Under that, you can have a multiple endpoints. So that is like, see, invoice is the API name. Like invoice management is my API name. Under that, there can be a multiple APIs called invoice create, invoice delete, invoice get
So
all
that is
invoice. You can
so
create
that
a multiple endpoints within an invoice management, or if you want, you can create a completely a new one. But usually we want to group all these common modules into one higher modules, right? That's why this is the names. Like all the APIs, we are grouping into this name.
so
So
that
it's
will be
like
the
a
group
bunch of
group.
yeah,
Can I call it a group API that you create first, and
yeah,
then create
yeah.
the subs? Correct.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Because I always thought API was one flow, one logic.
No,
Okay.
usually if you take any traditional, you might have seen there is a in the URL you can see invoice slash create,
Okay. Yes.
invoice slash delete. So
Okay.
in the URL you might see in this pattern.
Yes.
So
Correct.
invoice is the API name, but create, delete are the methods we call. So that's what here the testing database is the API name, and these are all the methods or endpoints we usually call.
Okay. So let's start one. So
Yeah.
get all invoices is one endpoint, right?
Yeah.
So what do we do with it?
So here, so in my scenario, I want to read a database data from MySQL because all the invoices are stored in MySQL, right? So I can create get data MySQL. So the here you can add a multiple steps. So these are all like a sequence of steps that is nothing but our business logic, and this business logic can be mapped to an endpoint. So here you can see there is a button I can click, so this will be exposed to the external world. See, pipelines are internal logic, so which is never exposed to the external user, whereas I want to call this API from UI means I want to create a endpoint where you can set all the permissions, like you can say which pipeline to trigger, what is the data I want to return as a response, and for which product I am building this API, and any error scenario what I need to. So these are all the configurations for an API you can define.
Okay. So do you
So
have,
like,
okay,
yeah,
so now basically say like get all invoices. So
yeah,
here you'll probably have your business logic in the center,
yes,
correct?
yes.
And endpoint means what does endpoint mean? It means ultimately your
The
action.
front end can call that
Okay,
front end system.
okay.
See,
So how,
why we made it endpoints and pipelines in such a way that because the endpoints are the external exposed, like these are all the URLs. See, basically it gives like a URL only in this format. So these are all we can call it from the front end, whereas pipelines are a business logic, and sometimes same endpoint can call multiple pipelines. So that way you can reuse it. See, these are all the reusable business logic. I can call these pipelines anywhere through
okay,
endpoints.
okay.
So
So
MySQL get. So here there are, you can see you can search by MySQL and all these steps related to MySQL it will filter. See, get data MySQL. So this is a step you can use. So in your scenario, let's say you have a stored procedure also. You can use get data MySQL stored procedure. And with pagination you can use this step with
okay.
pagination. So
So
like that the
basically
multiple.
the data will be displayed as a page generation, correct?
Yeah.
In step three, correct?
Yes. So MySQL get. So I'll just use get data MySQL. So here you can see it needs an input parameter data source. So here you can see there are data source settings. So because to connect to the database or any third party system, right, it needs its own parameter. So that's why, so we have created a data source settings where I can create my data source connection like get invoice from MySQL. So like this, you can create any name for your data source. I'll just add it, and there is a edit button you can click. So this is the place I just created a secret right in the first step. So here you can pick that secret like my expense database. I just created, and which table you need. Test my table. So this is there. It will auto suggest, and then you can just give this name here, and then just click on. Let me delete this. So click on save, and here there is a test button. Click on test and instantly you can test it. So you can see response because there is no data in my SQL. So you can see there is a empty response. So
Yeah.
if I manually add one record, let me insert here. I will show you how to insert it, but here I will just create one dummy record into the SQL. Insert, here is insert query. So you can say I just inserted one record, and if I test it again, can you see here the response?
Okay. So that's table ID one and okay.
Yeah.
Uh, can I get
So
something from a
if you need
form?
any filtering and all, you can apply here. So there is a where condition. Let's say in your scenario, you want to filter based on the client ID. So you can add a client ID parameter and pass the value, and it will filter because you will have a common databases for multiple clients, whereas each table will have client ID or tenant ID. Any columns we will have right audit column. So you can filter. So you can apply filtering and do any data transformation on that.
Okay. Can I ask you one more question?
Yeah.
Supposing I have a form and I want to
Yes.
get information from a form, how does that work?
Yeah.
Would you?
Yeah. Sure. So that one, you first you need to build the UI. So this one I just did through
Re-
script, right? Let's say I want to insert into MySQL. So let's say I will create one table, test form.
okay.
So here you can define your UI. So I need a name, age, and salary. So three text boxes I want. So you can just add a text box. Here there is a clone. You can do a cloning also. So if you want, it will duplicate. So here you can give a name, and then you can give
So
age.
title is where the name of that.
Here title is this one. So here you can display age. I just changed right here. There is a text box. If I want salary, so you can give a salary. So you can see.
Okay. So name, age, salary, correct?
Yeah.
And then there'll be a
So like
submit
this, you
button.
can create a form, and then you need a button. You can add a button. So let's say you need a button. You can add a button. So we have multiple varieties of buttons are there. So you can use it. Like let's say save. So you can create a save form. So this data should be stored into the database. So for that, I will create a new endpoint to store it. So here I just demonstrated how to read from a MySQL. So I
Yeah.
want to insert. So let's say add data to MySQL. So I'll just create one. So and then add data. So you can see, just search by MySQL word. You can see everything available. It will display. See add data MySQL. You can select this step and then create a data source. Add data MySQL. So here again select the secret, which database, which table, and here you can see it will auto suggest all the columns. So employee name, age, salary. And if you want to add code, let's say you don't have a UI, you want to test the insertion. So you can just directly add code. Test ABC 20, 30. So like this, you can add code and try the APIs also. So it will, you can easily test the APIs directly from API itself. You don't need a UI also. So let me test it. So if I insert it, you can see, say, like it created again. I will insert, say, if I open here, select star or directly here only, I will just show you. So here itself, you can see here multiple tables records are inserted. So just one step. I just created add data MySQL and I pointed my data source, and in the data source I just configured my SQL database settings and all the tables. So now here the data is hard coded. Now I want to take it from the UI. So in that case, you have to make it like a variable name, employee name, age,
Mhm.
and salary. So these are all the names you can take it from UI. So I just passed as a parameter. So value means it is like you are hard coding. You are giving a default name. Variable means you are taking a input from the user, or within the steps there can be a multiple inputs.
Okay, okay. So anyway, so now just show me from a form how it will go into the data, into the table.
Yeah. So now I'll just save it. Now I will come to the UI. So here I just created a test form, right? So here you can give a name for your variables, like I gave it, right, employee name, and then age,
Mhm.
and then salary. So you can give, because these are all the variable names which holds this data. Whenever user types anything,
Yes.
this variable will hold that data. So you can use it in your system wherever you want. So
Yeah.
I'll just
Okay.
go with employee name. So this is the, I just created a UI and I given a variable name, and this you can see there is a save button. On click of this, I want to save it. So here you can see for a save button click, you can configure a pipeline. So I'll just create save click. These are all the meaningful name. You can define anything. It is not like you have to use the same format. As per your business, you can save like save invoice, anything like that. You can give a meaningful name. So here there is a save click, call API. So this is a step we have available, and it will start suggesting add data before request. So data store data to request, refresh data. So here you can see there is a before request, add data to request. So this we are improving where instead of using another pipeline, we want to give a option here itself for the user to modify. So this we are improving one. So here you can see add data to request. So there is a step called add data to request where I can pass the all the UI data to my API. So you can see it will auto suggest everything. You can just select it, it will work. So now the UI is ready. Let me. So now the UI is ready and the API is ready. Now it will store it. So here you can see, you can test check it. So whether the pipeline is mapped. So here you can see save click. I have mapped for my button. So whenever a user clicks on this button, which pipeline to call, that is what I am configuring here. You can see button click pipeline. So I want to call a save click because under save click only I am making a call to my API with all the data passed in this add data to request. So now if I here there is a preview option is there. You can click on the preview and give a name test. And if I so now let me select star table so you can run it. So you can see. So these are all the tables. So I just inserted test 54154. You can see. Uh, epen h testing MySQL 85 and 35. I just created. If I refresh it, you can see here data inserted into the SQL.
Okay. So now basically the form design you have to do it here, or
Yeah. So you have to design here. So you can style anything. All the details are available here. You can beautify. You want a padding.
This we
Everything.
will do it later, Nigel. UI specific training we will do it
yeah.
later. Let's try
Okay.
to go step by step so we won't get confused with overlapping all the modules.
Okay. Okay.
Okay,
All
let's try to do that one by one. Okay.
right. Okay. All right. So
So
understood this.
mainly in our platform, right? See, mainly you have to understand the pipelines and steps. That's all. Because all the components we use the same term. So here the pipelines are nothing but a list of business logic, and these are all the steps. Similarly, in the API, again there is a pipelines with a list of steps. So if any steps are not available, you can inform us. We will add it. Like let's say I want to do a age validation. If age is so and so, salary should be XYZ. So like that, let's business logic you want to add. So such scenario, if any steps are not there, we will provide it. But rest of the platforms as is, all the screens, everything same way. You can if you do 1 or 2 days trial and error, right? So you will easily understand the complete platform flow. But we will share you the all the necessary videos to start with so that you can refer it, understand, and then start building your own.
Okay. So right now we have basically finished how do you add a data model, a data to it, how do you add a table to it or a database. We got an API and we got a front end UI, correct?
Yes.
Any questions, Sandeep?
Yes, I have one question.
Yeah.
How can we provide the security to the API? I mean, the API key or auth key or bearer token, something like that.
So through our platform, entire our platform is executed with a authentication authorization. You don't have to worry about any bearer token or API token. So these are all completely secured. So if I show you the network request, so everything is authenticated. So you can see all the applications built through our platforms are completely secured and authorized using bearer OAuth 2.0 protocol. So every request goes with a token. You can see there is a bearer token. It will be authenticated, and this bearer token you can configure your own session timeout, like what is your timeout for your access token, API access tokens, everything you can configure. And let's say this API whatever you just now developed, if third party wants to access it, so again that also you can configure. There is a user, so where you can create a API access. So you can see API access user you can create. Once that is created, a client ID secret will be given. You can say there is a client ID secret. You can create a new secret. Using the client ID secret, you can talk to you can call this API. But through our platform, everything you can build. You don't need like partially you have built the API UI you want in yours. It's not like that. Completely you can build, and completely all the APIs, everything is secured. And so let's say you have multiple APIs with role based you want to control, that you can do it in the endpoint. So you can see there is a edit button where this API is needed for which product. Like you can select there is a ERP admin. So this API should be called only for ERP admin. You can select it. And the user which are having access to your ERP admin product, they can only access this API. Others they can't access it. Will throw unauthorized error. So like
Okay.
that, complete user management, permission, role management, everything platform gives out of the box. And even in UI also you can configure like this UI for which product, which role you want, you can assign it. There is a, you can say here apps. So this screen you have built for workshop automation, you can select it. That way user who is having workshop automation, they can access this UI. No other users can access this.
Okay.
Sandeep, any other question?
No, Nigel.
Shimon? Okay. So we're done with this part of the training, correct? Since it's about
Yeah.
30 minutes, correct? So what I suggest is then we will continue this with you all tomorrow. Is that correct? Or
Correct. Right.
so basically in the interim period, everybody's got a username and password, right?
Yes.
Sandeep, everybody's got a username to access this, right?
Yes,
RN,
yes.
right? So we can
Yes,
play
Kushal, you
around.
have this, right?
Kushal,
Yes, I got
just
this.
make sure that Shimam has it, and then of course I'll have a look at it, but I'm not going to go into the details. So that so why don't you all play with this today for about 20 or 30 minutes? If there's any questions, then we can ask it in the next session tomorrow.
So we will
Okay?
create a videos also, like whatever just demonstrated. We'll create a video with all the explanation steps and all, so that you can watch and recreate again.
No, I have this video already now. So I'll put it online so that at least step by step, because this we've done it together, so we understand it, right?
Yeah, sure.
So, sure. Okay. All right. So Shubhangini just joined us, but anyway, we can send her the link so that she'll probably be able to see it. Okay. So I'll post it on YouTube, and then we'll take it from there. Okay. So anything else? Okay, then I guess we'll connect with with
Yeah.
you all tomorrow, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay then.
So we
Okay.
have the WhatsApp group also, right? Like any doubt, you can immediately ping us, so we will respond, so that you can understand quickly.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
just
Let's go.
play around on the platforms. Just go through each screen what it is. Just try to understand yourself, and you will get more knowledge than what I explained. So you will completely get to know. Okay, these are all the benefits. It is
And
of free.
if there's something that we need, you all will customize it and put it here, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. All right then.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay then.
Okay. Thank you all.
Thanks for your time.
Yeah.
See you
Thank you.
tomorrow.
Yeah,
Same time.
thank you
Yeah.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.